Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meaningful Marketer podcast. This is where we talk about business things, but we talk about it from a mindset and connection led perspective. And so we are able to talk about marketing in a more meaningful way because we are coming at it with those things put first. And as a result, we believe that a lot of other things are going to follow too. A lot of the things that you're really wanting, like more sales, a larger community, all of those things. But first, we have to connect deeper with ourselves and with our people. And through that, we can see the success that we want to see in our business, but not just success, like fulfilling success. Success that doesn't just feel like, oh, I've got money now, or, I've got a lot of followers, but I still feel just so about my business. And that's what we're here to talk about. So today's topic is going to be all about success. How do we make every day successful? Because it's really hard to go through business when you feel like every day you're getting to the end of the day and it's not successful. We're going to talk about what has helped us be able to get to the end of the day and feel successful no matter what, no matter how we're feeling for the day. But it's very difficult if you're getting to the end of each day and you're feeling deflated to continue to get up and want to do the same thing again tomorrow. And more chances than not, you're not going to get up and show up in the same way again the next day if you are feeling super deflated. You might for a couple days, but give that a week, a month, a couple months of feeling deflated and getting to the end of the day and feeling like it wasn't a success, feeling like you failed in some way or something like that. And you are going to burn out and then you're not going to show up. And we know that the real magic in business, hacks aside, everything aside, it's consistency. If you are consistent for long enough and you're able to be consistent with showing up for your business long enough and you pay attention, you will be able to find what works and you'll learn and you'll know and you'll lean into that and you'll be able to grow your business through that. So really the thing that's going to keep you from growing is lack of consistency more than anything. And so if we can create an environment for ourselves where we can be consistent and can show up consistently, a sustainable environment for ourselves, then that is going to set us up for success. But if we're getting to the end of each day and we feel like a failure and we're losing our momentum, we're not going to show up. And the thing is, people talk so much about momentum and about motivation and consistency and all of these things, right? And you get all this advice on that. But the thing is, a lot of the time we do, I feel like, have to still make it as enjoyable as possible. Yes,
Yep.
there's going to be days you get up and you don't feel like doing it. There's going to be plenty of days like that and that you do have to power through and do it anyways. But we want to make those days as few and far in between as possible. And when those days do come, we want to know how to combat that and what's in our toolbox that we can use to get in a better mindset, to get on track again. So we will continue showing up. Because the thing about motivation is you hear people like, you need more motivation, you need more self-discipline. Well, the thing about that is if you have motivation's fleeting. If you're looking at it in the way of motivation is what you're waiting on. It's
Right.
fleeting, it's a feeling. It's not something that is going to just hit you one day and you just feel motivated. You're not going to feel motivated every day. So if you're waiting on motivation to feel successful or to feel like you can get to a point where you're successful, you're going to be waiting a really long time. Or you're going to find that you have a short period of time that you feel really motivated and you do a lot, and then you're going to fall off and you're going to feel
Yeah.
really, again, deflated. And the same with self-discipline. We have to make sure that it's as enjoyable as possible because self-discipline, making yourself do something you hate, only goes so long. It only goes so far. You're going to have a month where you're like, I can't do this anymore. Or, there are people out there who I think are just super self-disciplined, like they are just crazy,
Yeah.
but most people aren't. I'm not
It's
like
a
that.
skill. It's a skill I think that you have to grow over time. But speaking of a real world example here, Mia, I know that one of your goals for the year has been to like get up earlier and go walk. And I remember when you were talking to me about that a few weeks ago, when you were kind of starting to like get in a routine with that, you were like, the last thing I want to do is wake up at whatever 5:30 or 6 in the morning to go and like go on this walk. I'm not going to ever feel like that's what I want to do. Like when my alarm goes off, I don't feel like getting up and doing that, but I always am so grateful that I did. And I remember you saying that you have to look forward to something right after, right? Like, okay, well, I can't wait to get
Yes.
back and sit on the porch with my coffee and start my day or whatever. I think that's the key. Like you'll wait forever to feel like doing certain things, but finding the little nugget, almost like dangling a carrot on the stick for yourself figure out what that thing is and then motivate yourself with that. I think there's a lot of good in that if you can make yourself do it.
Agreed. Even like talking about it from like a social media standpoint or something, maybe you were like, I'm going to push myself to get out of my comfort zone and to do this live video or to do this talking video. And you know what? As a reward for myself, maybe you're a homebody like me or kind of introverted like me. I don't have to deal with people the rest of the day after I do it. I'm going to finish my work, solo on the couch. I'll put my favorite show on. Whatever you have to do to just romanticize that just a little bit because it is. And then over time, what you can do is you can insert another little change and another little change. What I realized with us getting healthier, and we really started realizing it because as we've gotten in our 30s now, it's a lot harder to go walk places that we want to go walk. We want to hike, and things like that. And there's little things that we notice. So we're like, we want to make a change. And so, me, I'm an all or nothing person. I think a lot of us are like that. I think it's like, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to make this huge change all at once. And if I don't, then I just don't feel like I'm making a difference or why even bother? And so, with the walking thing, like for me, my old self, before I've started, implementing different things, I would have been like, if I'm not getting up every day and walking and journaling and working out for an hour and doing all of these things, I would have been like, then I'm just not going to do any of it. And so what I realized, and honestly, personally and vulnerably, it's because I got to a place in my mental health with this that there was something I needed to take charge of. It was like I needed something to grasp onto and to take charge of that I knew was going to move me and just a little bit of a step in a positive direction. And walking was that. So I was like, there's a lot of things in my life I can't control right now. But one thing I know that's going to be better for me is if I get up and walk. And I also know if I got up a little earlier, I'd probably feel a lot less rushed in the day. I'd probably feel a lot more energized. I probably wouldn't have to work until 9, 10 o'clock at night because I could just start my work earlier, things like that. And when I, swallowed my pride and I took that little bitty step, then I was like, oh, you know what? I have an extra hour before I really need to start work. I could
Right.
journal for 30 minutes during that time, or I could go and lift some weights 30 minutes during that time. And so it really is all about compounding those little things. But also, I had to shift my mindset around the walk too. It wasn't just about I want to look a certain way. Depending on the day, depending on whether I'm going out that weekend, depending on whether I'm home a lot or, what kind of mood I'm in, if I'm going on vacation soon, my idea about how I want my body to look is going to be very different day to day. That is actually going to be pretty fleeting. I think, overall, sure, we want to look and feel a certain way, but like really in the grand scheme of things, if it comes between your comfort and what you want to look like, depending on what season you are in your life and how often you're getting out, if you're going on vacation, things like that, you're going to be more motivated to want to look a certain way, right? And otherwise, you might be in sweatpants or something and you might be like, well, I don't really care. And so I had to shift my mindset to this wasn't about looking a certain way. This was about, I want to be able to, when I have kids one day, I want to be able to take them on walks and hikes and not be, gasping for air at the bottom of the hill. Like me and Tom love to be outside. I want to feel my best self so I can be outside. I want to have more time with Tom. And these walks in the mornings, a lot of the time, it's time for me and him to talk before the day starts. And, there's these little mindset shifts I had to make that actually made this a lot more of an anchor for what I was
Yeah.
going to stick to these for. I think sometimes we anchor it to something that we think might be super motivating, super helpful, but it ends up not being the thing that
Right.
actually lights our fire and drives us, It really is just all about mindset shifts. And so whether you are physically changing something to romanticize stuff a little bit, or you're just changing it up here, that can make a huge difference. And I'm telling you right now, 90 probably percent of the time, it's just changing it up there. And that's how
Well,
you're going to romanticize it.
that's true. That's true. We hold so much of that power, and it's hard because with that power comes great responsibility. And it's like you have to acknowledge that you might be standing in your own way, and you're probably the only person who can make the necessary shifts to kind of get your passion back and get motivated, right? I feel like I've learned that even with like the least desirable tasks, let's say I've got something on my to-do list that I am dreading. If I take a beat and I analyze, why is it that I'm dreading this so much? What is
Hmm.
it? Like what's the stressor? Like, what's the problem? Am I just like not inspired to create this thing? Am I stressed about how the client's going to feel about it? Like, you have to kind of do the little bit of mental gymnastics to figure out why you feel that way. And then once you've identified it, odds are there's something you can tweak to change that. And so I would just encourage you that in anything, even if it feels like total drudgery to you, there are small tweaks that you can do to make it more fun, whether that's changing your environment, whether that's changing your approach, whether that's sitting for a minute and allowing yourself to scroll and getting inspired or something before you sit down and do it, or whatever, going on a walk to get inspired. Find the thing and then do the thing. And then, you may have just changed your whole day for the better.
Yeah. And with you saying, stepping back and asking yourself, why am I dreading this? Also, I don't know about you, but once I get started on it, a lot of the time the stress and the dread goes away. A lot of the time, what we're stressing and we're dreading is actually the starting of it.
Yeah.
Once you get going, a lot of the time you're just like, wow, I was like putting this off or I was dreading this so much. So that's another thing that I like to remember as well is I'm actually stressing about and dreading the beginnings of this, the starting of it. I'm dreading something that I've completely made up in my head,
Yes.
probably. And once I get started on it, those fears will go away. And so, one of the big things to make each day successful is action,
Yes.
some kind of action, some kind of movement. Because taking action and moving, whether that's physical movement or whether it's movement in your business or your tasks, that is what is going to start to melt away the stress. And that is what is going to start that reframing in your mind. Because if you have taken some kind of action that day towards where you want to be, towards the person you want to be, towards what you consider success, then you can get to the end of the day and feel successful.
Yeah.
Success isn't a destination. Success is the little choices you make every day that align with your goals and your values and get you a step closer. And I
Yes.
think that's where we get it wrong a lot of the time is we're thinking success is this destination. It's this certain revenue check mark. It's this certain amount of free time that you have because you've, you know, automated most of your business or whatever you're trying to do. But really, what success is it is the little actions you're taking every single day to get towards your goal. And whenever you get to the end of the day, it's also reframing how you look back at your day. And so I heard something the other day on a podcast that was talking about little mindset shifts to kind of that just change your life. And they said when they got to the end of the day, one thing they started doing was instead of what did I not get done today? What did I get done today? What did I accomplish today? Even if it's
Ooh.
just one thing. Because what we often do at the end of the day, which is just so true, we often are thinking about all the things that we need to get done tomorrow
Yes.
or we're thinking about all of the things that we didn't get done today because those are the things waiting for us tomorrow, right? And then some days we get to the end of the day and we think of all the things that we didn't do right or that went wrong. And so if you can shift your mindset to when you get to the end of the day, asking yourself a simple question of what did I accomplish today? So for me, if everything else went wrong at work for the day, but I got up and I walked, I actually got up later than I wanted to today because Tom worked late last night. And so I didn't end up going to bed as early as I wanted to, and so he wanted to sleep in. And so then I let it get to, I was like, oh, I'm gonna sleep in too, And I didn't sleep in horrible, but I did sleep in later than I wanted to. But you know what? At the end of the day, what I can say when I'm going to bed tonight, I accomplished still going on my walk. I still went on my walk. I still prioritize that. Or I accomplished recording a podcast, and even though maybe we have so many things that we want to do better in our podcast and so many places we want to go with this that we can't all at once. We can't right now. It was a success today because we showed up and we recorded it and we got a step closer. We got a step closer to looking at the things we want to do better. We got a step closer to putting ourselves out there more. And so if we can reframe it and look at it like that, then when you get to the end of the day and you're asking yourself those things, you start to feel good about what you're doing. You start to notice, hey, I'm succeeding in these things. I'm setting out and I'm becoming the person that I want to be. May not be happening all at once, and that's okay. We all want it to happen all at once, right? And I think that's what makes just humanity and being human and the human experience and the human journey so special is as many ways as we try to automate and we try to optimize and do all of these things. The human journey it's so special because you can't make it happen overnight. You can't just take a magic pill
Right.
and become the person you want to be, you know? And as much as we are trying in society to make those things so, you can't. And I think that that's a beautiful thing about humans and the human experience is just the journey that we have to go on. And there's nothing really at the end of the day that can replace that journey, that can fast track that journey in the way that we so desperately want. And even if someday there is, it's still not going to be the same because
Yeah,
your experiences and what you go through and all of these things that lead up along the way, those are who end up making you who you are and making what you do unique because it has a unique experience to anything else. And I think
absolutely.
when we can reframe our mind to that, and when we can ask ourselves the right questions and talk to ourselves kindly, it starts to make things feel a lot more successful. And you might not have even changed a thing that you were doing. And if you're someone like me, you might struggle with that and be like, well, I didn't change anything I'm doing. I'm still going at the same pace, all these things because I get so caught up in all those things. But all along, you were doing what successful people do. You're showing up,
Right.
you're putting yourself out there. If you're taking the action, if you're moving, you're going in the right direction. Nobody got there overnight. You think they did because you saw a viral video that happened overnight or something, that happened 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years into their journey. And you weren't there for the other 9 years of it. You just got the tail end of it. And then you're like, I want that right now. And it's like, well, you can't have it right now. They put in the work and it was 9 years to get to this point. And not just because of things they know and hacks that they've found along the way, but because of their personal experience and the connections they've built. And that's something that you can't skip over.
And I think that it's worth saying too that, I mean, it's easy to think, especially in social media, that everyone else's path is easier than yours, right? Like, well, they had made one viral video and they just blew up, and I'm like fighting for my life over here. Like, it feels like that a lot because we all know that social media can be so disillusioning. But I was talking about this yesterday with my sister. It's not like what you see is not always what you get. Odds are those people are successful because they did the hard or uncomfortable or cringy things too. And so you can't let that deter you from doing those things yourself. There's not really a way around them in business, especially if you're a business owner. Like, you're just going to have to put up with some of that and get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I hate it just as much as the next guy, but that truly is the way that you grow. And that's the way that you grow your business. So don't trick yourself into thinking that everybody else just, oh, their life looks so easy. They have it so much easier. They blew up so much quicker than me. No, they're putting in the work behind the scenes, even if it looks different. And that's what you got to do. You got to just kind of mute the noise and put your head down and figure out how to best motivate yourself to continue to always be taking a step forward.
Yes, you do. And when you said, you have to tune out the noise, it really is, I think, a huge thing is comparison.
Yes.
Comparison is the thief of joy. So if you are feeling unsuccessful, cut out the comparison. Where are the spots that you are comparing yourself? In an industry like ours, I found it so hard to balance that because I'm constantly looking at what other marketing companies are doing. I'm constantly looking for inspiration for us, for our clients. Even that, though, I've had to take a big step back very recently. This is all very raw for me because I'm going through it right now in real time, honestly, like mental health hanging, dangling by a little string, and these are things that I'm doing in real time to get myself back to a good place. So we're in this together. I have had to probably what most marketers would be like, don't do that. I have literally had to unfollow other marketers, not because they're not great people, just because of myself and the comparison game I'm playing. And I have had to really put a limit on how much I'm looking at inspiration and finding ways that when I am wanting to go and scroll on my phone or go do things that might cause me to compare to find other avenues that I can go down instead that will feed my personal creativity and not just have me looking at what everyone else is doing, because it is so important to not drown out your unique magic with all the things everyone else is saying and doing. And it's so important to protect that. And a way we can protect that is limiting the amount of time that we are on comparing ourselves, maybe allowing ourselves to even be a little bored, to be with ourselves and our own creativity and not be entertained 24/7. But yeah, I've done a lot of unfollowing or muting and really leaned into the saying that people say, which is, how do I create more than I consume? You should always create more than you consume. So, what I'm learning in this stage of my life right now is that if myself or someone else is dealing a lot with comparison, if they are dealing with these thoughts of they're a failure, they're not successful, but they're actually already taking the actionable steps to get towards that. They are moving and, they've already made that first step. I would say the first step from there, or the next step, I guess you would say, is create more than you consume. Are you consuming more than you're actually with yourself creating right now? And if that is the case, you might not even realize it. And you might be creating some really amazing things. But is your consumption outweighing what you are creating yourself? Are you letting all these outside voices and everything heavily influence your creativity to a point where you don't have an appreciation for your unique magic and your unique creativity anymore? Because when you really look at it and you look at the amazing things that have come from life and everything like that, it's from the people who tuned out the noise and they did their own thing. And that's when something truly special, I believe, is born, is when you tune all of that out and you just be
Yeah.
yourself. And I think sometimes we're always telling people, go be yourself, do this. And I think sometimes it's like, well, how do I go be myself? The first step to being yourself is let's just from right now forward, tune it all out for a bit, for a month.
Yeah.
Don't give a flying F about what anyone else is doing, what anyone else is saying. What are you saying? What is the creative things coming to your mind? Because that is going to, over time, the more time you spend with yourself and you heal that relationship with yourself and you connect with yourself again, you're going to find a lot more appreciation for that and you're going to learn to trust yourself. And there's so much that's going to come from it. Because I can tell you from experience, when we worked at the last company we worked at, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. None of us did, really. None of us had ran a company before. And none of us were really fully working in the lanes that we were even like skilled in. We were
Yeah.
pulled a lot of different ways. Even if you were working on a lane you were skilled in, you were still working in lanes that you weren't skilled in. And people didn't understand. They were like, how are you all doing this? Like, you're doing this very different from everyone else. And when the downfall of when our sales dipped, when our team morale got toxic and dipped. When these things started happening, it is when we started looking at what everyone else was doing and we became a big boy business. And we were like, well, we need to see what all the other big people are doing, because now that we're, this big boy business or whatever, we need to start doing it like the big dogs and all of these things. And we need to bring in all these outside opinions and these professionals who have been in it for like 10, 20 years. And that was it, honestly. Sales went down, team morale went down, the work culture got very toxic, and we lost a lot of connections with our community. There were so many things that happened because someone decided that they were going to listen to all of these outside sources and look outside instead of, again, they were consuming more than they were creating. And also having their company, their team, consume more than they were creating as well. And it started to just kind of like, it wasn't healthy anymore for anyone, and nobody was having fun in what they were doing anymore either, because there was this comparison game all the time, every day. And so I think if you're someone who's just getting started with, how do I find success? How do I know if I'm successful? How do I even start a company doing what I love and start making money doing what I love? It goes back, and I was humbly reminded of this lately. It goes back to, what are my passions? What am I good at? And how can I serve other people with those? And if you can go back to the simplest form of how a lot of successful businesses get started, when you hear those people who are like, well, honestly, I started a business on accident. And it's probably true, because it's probably they were really passionate about something. And then they asked, how can I serve people with this? Or how I've got this skill or I've got this talent, I have this knowledge. How can I serve people with it? So if you can look at your passions and your skills and your knowledge, and then you can look at how to serve people with that, it's going to create more doors for opportunities. It may not even look like what you think it looks like, but I remember when I was singing a lot and I ended up singing at church. I was leading worship at church. I wasn't getting paid to do that or anything. But again, it was just kind of, it was something I loved to do. I loved to sing. And then it was a way I could share my singing with other people, and I wasn't being compensated or anything. But me showing up and doing that, it wasn't how I thought it was going to look. I thought there was going to be some opportunities opened up for me to get paid to sing. It wasn't how I thought it was going to look, but that's how I ended up getting my marketing job, was through that, because I showed up and this was something I really enjoyed and I was passionate about, and I showed up and doors started opening, even the ones that I didn't think. And when I look back at everything I've done, any success I've had, it's because I've looked at first, what do I have to offer? What can I do? Even when I worked at the factory I worked at, I was like, you know what? I have no knowledge in this area, but I know I'm a good learner. I know I'm a hard worker. I know I can learn and listen and grow. And even something little like that, that you're just like, I'm a fast learner, or, I'm humble enough to take instruction from people and to learn and to not let my pride get in the way. Like, even those things, how can you serve people with that? How can you show up and be the best person you can be and lean into your strengths? And when you can do that, I believe that the opportunities start to open up where people want to work with you and want to purchase a product from you, or want to buy your stuff, or want to, do something to support you, because it's not about the money then at that point. And I think if you're struggling right now, if you can go back to what skills do I have? What am I passionate about? And how can I serve people with that? Serve doesn't always mean you're not making money. That was something I learned as well and heard in a podcast recently, actually. It doesn't mean people aren't paying you for it. Maybe they're not. Maybe at first they're not. But how can I share that, with the world, and be my like authentic self and share that with people? And if you can do that, and you can take it back to service, and you can take it back to how you're framing things at the end of the day, and you can ask yourself the right questions, you can encourage yourself kindly, and you can make those little bitty shifts throughout the day, and start up here first, start moving, getting going, you're going to start getting to the end of each day and feeling like it was successful, even if, in the grand scheme of
Right.
things, you didn't even do that much. But because
Right.
success is a lot more about you showing up over and over and over again, and success is a lot more, I think, about being humble and willing to learn and just go on the journey, and it is really just all about your mindset. And so there's no magic hack. There's no, magic way to get your to-do list all the way done in a day, or to accomplish that project in a faster amount of time. Like, the magic sauce is you showing up, working on your mindset, and taking it back to service and connecting with yourself again. And that really is, because until you do those things, no matter how much money you're making, no matter what you're doing in a day, you're going to continue to not feel successful.
Yep.
And that's just true how it is. So that is how you can get to the end of each day and feel successful. Members, stick around because we have some bonus content for you and everyone else. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to come hang out with us in the membership, make sure to check that out. It's our Meaningful Marketer membership, where we have tools and coaching monthly and everything that just builds on all the things we talk about here, and gives you extra support on a monthly basis to help you market more meaningfully, connect with yourself again, all of the things like that, and just come at business in a more connection led way. And so make sure to check that out if that's something you're interested in, because that is a great resource for business of all sizes. And we hope that you have the best day. Make sure to subscribe. We release these weekly, and just know that we are over here cheering you on.